So if you made it to this video, that means your packet got picked up by the U.S. Army and you were selected by the board to become a U.S. Army aviator. Congratulations, today is a big day for you. Things are going to start to change, and they're going to start to change real fast. In this video, we're going to talk about arrival to Fort Rucker, a little bit on in processing, there's not a whole lot to it. And we're going to also talk about getting into a good routine and preparation before you actually start flight school. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown on the area. So let's get into it. When you first get to Fort Rucker, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Building 5700. It's the Soldier Welcome Center. And you're going to do this big, long checklist. You're going to knock it out. I'm not going to really get into that. You guys made it to flight school. Obviously, you're smart enough to do a checklist. When you get here, the unit you're going to actually go to is, if you're a warrant, you're going to go to Bravo Company. And if you're a commissioned officer, you're going to go to Delta Company. Being that I'm a med service officer, I came here as a captain, so I kind of have a little bit of a different route. It's a little untraditional when it comes to coming to flight school rather than a warrant or a 15 Alpha does. So I got to bypass Bullock and go straight into SEER school. But you can still take a lot away from my experience. Obviously, everything else is pretty much the same. So you're going to go to either Bravo or Delta Company. And the first thing you're going to have to knock out is you're going to have to get another flight physical when you get here. That kind of caught me by surprise because you just got one, right? Why do you have to get another one? Well, apparently, every single time you PCS and change duty station as a U.S. Army aviator, you have to get another flight physical from the local flight surgeon and get it signed off by the commander you fall under. So that's why. So when you get here, that's the big thing, because once you get that flight physical done and you get what's called the upslip signed, that means you can then start flight school, or at least start knocking out the courses for flight school. You won't actually fly for another 3 or 4 months if you're lucky. I know that sucks, but that's just kind of how the Army is at times. If you're a warrant, you'll need to knock out Wobick and WOX first. And if you're a commissioned officer, you got to knock out Bullock first. And then you're not done. You got to go into SEER. And then you start Common Core. And you finally start flying. So let's get into it a little bit. When you are on hold, that's what they call it when you first get here. You're put on hold. And the main thing with hold life is you do details and you do PT, and that's pretty much all you do until you get picked up for the next course you're waiting on. So when you're on hold, you're going to do 2 things. That's details and PT. So the details can range from anything as far as raking leaves, picking up trash, or you can be tasked with sitting at a desk for 12 to 24 hours, greeting people as they come in and telling them where the restroom is down the hallway to the left. Beyond that, that's pretty much your details. PT, Monday through Friday, every single morning. Basic Army PT from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So that's that. That's hold life in a nutshell. You're waiting to go to the courses. And while you're waiting, that's your life. All right, so let me give you a little orientation of Fort Rucker. So when you get to Fort Rucker, if you're like me, you're going to be spending a lot of time in the gym. That's kind of my go-to when I have a lot of off time. Gym, and I try to maintain a good, solid fitness regimen while I'm on hold and while I kind of have some downtime. So there's 2 gyms on Fort Rucker. They're pretty nice, what you'd expect from a military base gym. Military bases always have pretty damn nice gyms. There's several tracks and running paths around Fort Rucker. One right by the track, it runs all the way down the golf course. And I love to run out by the lake. Although there's not really a running path there, there's not a whole lot of vehicles on that road, so it's perfect for running on. And then there's a golf course. Fort Rucker housing is also pretty nice. We really liked living on Fort Rucker. As far as military installation goes, it was the first time we lived on post, and I don't regret it, and neither does my family. So let's talk about the airfields. So there's Cairns Army Airfield, which is where you will do Common Core at until you get to BWS, and then you'll go to Shell Airfield. Cairns is ginormous, and it's where all of the brand new aviators that are learning how to fly go. That's where Common Core is conducted, and then you go to BWS, and you're kind of a big deal at that point, or at least you think you are, and you go to Shell. Shell's pretty cool. It's chill. It's laid back. And then when you get to your airframe, depending on what you get, you get UH-60s. You'll be flying out of Lowe. That's where I was. If you get Chinooks, you'll be flying out of Knox. And if you get Apaches, you'll be flying out of Hanchey. And if you get picked up for C-12, you'll be flying out of Dothan. So those are really cool. Whenever I first got to Fort Rucker, me and my family would go out to the airfields all the time and watch the helicopters take off. I spent a lot of time out at Cairns just because, like, you're waiting for Common Core to start. It's a huge airfield. And I just remember me and my wife and my little boy would go out there. We'd watch the helicopters fly in, and we'd just be like, oh my God, can you believe I'm about to start flying that? And it was really cool. So I highly recommend spending a lot of time out there. It's pretty cool. So the cities that surround Fort Rucker, you have Daleville right outside of the gate of Fort Rucker, the main entrance. And Daleville is pretty much what you'd expect from a military town. A lot of gun shops, a lot of tattoo shops, a lot of pawn shops. And there's always that one store that capitalizes off of what the base centers around. So for Fort Rucker, it's the Hangar. The Hangar is the equivalent of Ranger Joe's at Fort Benning. Like, Ranger Joe's has everything infantry, like boots, 550 cord, canteens, cool Gucci 511 bags, anything you can imagine, Ranger handbooks, all of that jazz. The Hangar is that for aviators. So you can go in there and you can get pretty much anything you can imagine that will help you be, I don't want to say a better pilot, because I don't think anything that they can sell in the Hangar can make you a better pilot. You're just that on your own, but it can make your life more convenient in the cockpit, and it can prepare you. Whenever I first got here, I went to the Hangar and I bought the EPs and Limits study book for the Lakota, even though it was like reading Greek to me. And what else did I buy? I bought the little quick flashcards. I bought a couple of other things, but honestly, it's going to be difficult for you to understand the material just because, unless you have a aviation background, but they're going to teach you all of that. So let's get on with, so that was Daleville. The other city I want to talk about is Enterprise. So Enterprise is located west of Fort Rucker, and it's a decent sized city for the area. It's got everything you would expect, like a Walmart. It's got restaurants. It's got TJ Maxx, Hobby Lobby, Lowe's. It's got all of your amenities that you would need. And then out of the back gate, you got Ozark. So that's where you'll go to get like your car tag and your license and all of that. Like all of that local governance, administrative stuff will be handled in Ozarks. And Ozark's not that big of a town. It does have a Walmart. It is kind of a cute town, but it's not really that big. but you will use that city for a couple of things. And then the biggest town here is Dothan. It's located about 30 minutes away. My wife actually did nursing school there. And then we went there quite a bit. It was kind of like our place we went to kind of get away from Fort Rucker when we needed a break. And they have any restaurant you'd imagine. They have Thai food. Actually, they have the best Thai restaurant. One of them, I can't say the best because I'm pretty loyal to Thai Lotus, which is my favorite restaurant in the world. But they definitely give them a run for their money. They actually have good Thai food there. It's called Thai House. So if you love Thai food, you're gonna freaking thank me in the comments. They have a really good Indian restaurant, although the waiter there is a little obnoxious. If he's still working there, I doubt it. They have all kind of restaurants. They have Thai food, Indian, Japanese, Chinese, of course, Mexican food. They just have everything. So Dothan's a great place to go to and get away. And then, so we talked about the area, kind of gave you a layout of the area, and hopefully that kind of gives you a picture of what to expect. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of recommendations. Now, recommendations while you're on hold, because this is how everybody is on hold. They first off, if you're coming to flight school, I think it's reasonable to assume that you're a pretty high achiever. Obviously, it's not an easy job to get. It's not easy to come here. So you probably have a good work ethic if you're here at flight school. So you're going to just naturally want to study something, or you're going to feel like you need to be reading something, like, how can I prepare for the course I'm going into? So I'm going to kind of give you my recommendations on what you can do while you're on hold. So first and foremost, fitness. Stay in shape. That's something you should always do when you're in the Army, but 100% stay in shape. If you're already in shape, stay in shape. If you're not in shape, get in shape. You're going to go through SEER school. That's a physical school. So start preparing for that. And like I said, you should always be trying to stay in shape. You're in the Army. We could be at war in any country at the drop of a hat. The next thing I want to say is get into a routine. So with having time off, get into a routine. Make sure you're waking up at a reasonable time in the morning. Make sure you're eating right. Make sure you're going to the gym. And just take this time when you're on hold as an opportunity to kind of get into a routine, because when flight school happens and you get into Common Core, every single second counts. And if you're not into a routine, it's going to be like someone threw a flashbang in the room when you start Common Core. So go ahead, get into a routine. I also want to talk about housing. So I've been to 2 duty stations, not counting Fort Rucker, and me and my family lived off post on the economy at every single duty station, and we're probably going to do that everywhere else we go to. Fort Rucker is the only place I lived on post at, and if I had to do it all over again, I would live on post again. The convenience of having a house on the installation will save you so much time when flight school starts. And when I first got that piece of advice from people that had been there, I was kind of a skeptic. I was like, come on, man. A 10-minute drive, a 15-minute drive, that's not that big of a deal. You don't realize how much time flight school is going to take from you. So if you can even save 5 to 10 minutes every day, it sounds crazy, but it does add up. So that would be my advice, is to live on post. But I know people that lived off post in Enterprise, and they did just fine. So it's not the end of the world if you don't live on post, but I would highly recommend it. The next thing I want to recommend for you to do while you're on hold is spend time with family and friends. Fortunately for me, I had my family here, and my wife's from New Orleans, I'm from Gulfport, and that's not that far from Fort Rucker. So if you don't have family here, spend time with friends, because when flight school starts, you're not going to have a whole lot of time. So being on hold when you're not at PT and you're not doing details is your opportunity to kind of get as much of that in as you can before the storm comes. And then, like I said, you're going to want to start studying stuff. That's going to be your natural instinct. But my recommendation to you is to hold off on the studying. You're at flight school. The IPs and the instructors here, their whole job and their whole existence is to teach flight school students like me and you on how to fly and everything about aviation. And they're really good at it. They've been doing it for a very long time. There are instructors here that have been here for 30 years. They know what they're doing. But if you just have to study something, you can't resist it, I would recommend studying TC 304.4. So that's the Army Fundamentals of Flight. I'll drop the link below. And Fundamentals of Flight, you can start familiarizing yourself with some of the terms that will be used when you're starting to learn to fly. And I'm talking about basic terms like translating tendency, ETL, angle of attack, things like that. So if you were going to do anything, that's what I would recommend. And then the next thing I would recommend is reading books. I listened to a lot of audiobooks whenever I was on hold, and two that are must reads when you're an Army aviator, especially medevac. One is Dead Men Flying by Patrick Brady. So Dead Men Flying, about Patrick Brady, retired 2-star general, won the Medal of Honor, and honestly, one of the greatest pilots, especially in the dust-off community. I would highly recommend you reading that book. It was a great book. And obviously this is not a book review video, but again, I highly recommend it. And then the next book would be To the Limits by Tom Johnson. That's a really good book too. So reading books will get you motivated to start flight school. It'll keep your mind in the game. So I hope this video helps. And again, I already told you guys I'm going to keep dropping these videos to get you guys through and get you your wings. And you're going to make it. Good luck. Thank you for watching.